السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dr. Ahmed, welcome.
Hello, Mr. Mohammed. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine. We are so glad to have you today as our featured speaker for tonight. It's all yours. You can start your session. We are listening to you. Thank you. Go on.
Okay, is my voice clear to everybody?
Yes.
Hello,
yes.
everybody, and good evening. I hope you can hear me well. Yes, that's great. Because this is a short session, so I'm not going to waste any time. And let's get the ball rolling. Just a minute, because I want to activate the sound. Yeah. Okay. So as you all know, today's session is, you can say, just an introductory session about cooperative learning. This is a very important concept for not only English teachers nowadays, but teachers of all subjects actually. And many schools around the world adopt this as, you know, as a policy within the school. Excuse me that maybe I cannot follow with the chat all the time, but I'm planning to respond to all of you by the end, inshallah. So just at the beginning, these are the objectives for today's session, but the two in black, we cannot delve in detail about them just because of the time of the session. But we're going to identify cooperative learning, learn quickly and briefly the difference between collaborative learning and cooperative learning. This is confusing to many people nowadays, and we're going to critically evaluate cooperative and collaborative learning. We're going to identify Kagan's structures. Kagan's is one type of cooperative learning. Recognize and analyze some of Kagan's structures, and understand and discuss together how to select which strategy according to the activities we have in class. At the beginning, to break the ice, and because this is a very important activity for our session, and we're going to build a lot of things around the activity that we're going to do now, inshallah. This is, you can say, an ice-breaking activity that we can start with. It will take no more than 3 minutes, inshallah. I want every one of you now, you don't have to write notes, you can memorize them. I'll give you 1 minute. I want you to remember and to prepare to talk about a place that you visited before and that you would like to revisit. You can write down the notes, you can just prepare them in your mind, and you will talk about this for 1 minute. These are just helping ideas. You can think of where was that place when you visited it the last or the first time, with whom did you go there, how long did you stay there, why you love this place. I want every one of you now, you have exactly, and I like to use this option in my classes, okay? You have 1 minute to think about the topic until you you listen to the music. I'm gonna tell you how we're gonna talk about it, inshallah. I can see people writing in the chat box. It's okay. You can write your notes in the chat box if you would like to. Okay. So now every one of you thought you have ideas and you are ready to talk. The way we're going to talk is that I'm gonna divide you into pairs. MashaAllah, we have like 60, 70 people here. Randomly, you will be divided into pairs. And while you are in pairs, you will divide yourselves into speaker A and speaker B based on your alphabetical order. So just ask about the names, Ahmed, Muhammad, then Ahmed first, because alphabetically is Ahmed first. Heba, Mona, then Heba is first, and so on and so forth. So we will have speaker A and speaker B. Speaker A will speak first for 1 minute. I'm going to signal the time. I'm going to tell you that the 1 minute is over. Please start talking. While speaker A is talking, please, this is very important. Speaker B, do not interrupt. Let speaker A just say whatever he or she want to say, okay? And then after 1 minute, speaker B will take turn and will talk about the same topic for 1 minute. So write in the chat box, please, how long do you think this activity will take us now? How long will it take you to finish this activity? 1 minute? The whole activity? Yes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. 1 minute for speaker A, 1 minute for speaker B. All right? Okay, who's going to speak first? Who's going to speak first? A, according to age, alphabetical order. Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, are you going to choose your partner? Are you going to choose your partner? No, neither will I. Okay, it's going to be automatically done, inshallah. Please, I'm going to ask Mr. Muhammad to start the breakout rooms. We have 66 participants. Just assign them into the rooms, and after, because I'm not the host, and this is the technical issue, maybe I will be with one of you in a room. It doesn't matter. You can just decide on the timing together. So 1 minute and 1 minute, and then we're gonna come back again. So Mr. Muhammad,
okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm with you. I'm going to give you the host now, and you can do it.
You can manage the time, because I will be automatically in one of the rooms.
Yeah, I know that, but I don't have the option to put the speakers in a room because I don't have the application. The Zoom rooms, I don't accept it on my computer.
Let me check.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I cannot do it either. Okay, so plan B. Let's pretend that we finished this activity. Let's pretend that we were in rooms and that each one of you talked for 1 minute about the topic. I'm going to ask you a question here. In such an activity, if you did that in class, what is the role of the teacher?
Observer.
Observer.
Helper.
Monitoring, yes. Guiding.
Monitor.
Facilitator, yes. Okay, so most of what you said is correct. In the first place, he is a facilitator. He facilitates, and of course, he is an observer and a monitor. If students are not following the rules, he should intervene. He should like guide them to if somebody didn't pick up the instructions, although he asked some CCQs, some ICQs, he could re-explain quickly and so on. All right. Now let's start our session. I'm going to remind you of this activity later on in the session, okay? But let's start now talking about cooperative learning. What does the word cooperative learning mean? What does this phrase or this term mean? Again, it's one of the most remarkable and fertile areas of theory, research, and practice in education. It exists when students work together to accomplish shared learning goals. This is one of the first definitions of cooperative learning. Johnson & Johnson did something in the late 70s or early 80s about cooperative learning, okay? But this definition is in their books in 1999. Of course, this is not a Quran. Some other people came with different definitions. Some other people made some variations in cooperative learning. We're going to see this now, inshallah. Again, another definition, and this is from 2007, so this should be more advanced. The term cooperative learning refers to students working in teams on an assignment or project under conditions, and please, this is very important, okay? Under conditions in which certain criteria are satisfied. And I'm going to explain this shortly, okay? So, in the first definitions, there are no conditions, there are no criteria, okay? Students just work together to accomplish a task. But in the modern definitions of cooperative learning, there has to be some kind of conditions, criteria to govern how students work. Including that the team members be held individually accountable for the complete content of the assignment or project. So if I have teams, every member in the team has responsibility. That's according to Felder and Brand 2007. Okay, somebody unintentionally wrote something on the screen. Unfortunately, because I'm not the host, I cannot disable the annotations. So if you could just erase what you did or undo, I'd be grateful to you. I'm not going to talk about the theories, as I told you, because of the short time that we have, but there are many theories supporting cooperative learning. These theories, there are theories in anthropology, in economics, in psychology, in political science, and in fact, it is rare that you find you know, a discipline in ELT that is supported by theories in all these areas. And that's why it has, you know, a very solid ground. There are a number of researcher developers who have developed cooperative learning procedures. So we don't have only one thing that is called cooperative learning. Here are just some examples. These are, you know, I highlighted the names in yellow. These are all people who came up with, you know, some structures and strategies that they claimed this is cooperative learning. But the one that we're going to focus on is the one that I'm highlighting here, which is Kagan, 1985, and he published or republished his book in 2009, a very important book, more than 500 pages long, in which he put all, you know, the theoretical background and the case studies that support this discipline, and he put more than 100 strategies that teachers can use in the classroom. Okay, now we're going to start another activity together. I'm going to show you three different forms of teaching. Strategy A, strategy B, strategy C. You have to pay attention to that. And I'm going to ask you, please bear in mind, if you want to take notes, it's okay. If you want to write in the chat box, that's fine. Take notes and try to compare the three strategies and try to think which one is more powerful. Strategy A is just like the one that you can see on the screen now. This is a classroom. Students are very happy. They are raising hands. Teacher asks a question. He gives think time. Students raise their hands. Teacher calls on a student to answer. One student answers. Teacher responds or reinforces or asks other students to clap to that students and so on. First of all, does this strategy ring a bell? What do you think? Is it familiar to you? Have you ever used that? Of course, yes. Who didn't? It is traditional, okay? But again, we sometimes do it. We all the time do it, all right? Fine, fine. We're not going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses now. We're going to come to that later on. Let's see the other two. Okay. Strategy B, teacher asks a question or gives a project. He asks the students to work as a team, and he says, help each other. Students distribute roles. Each student or in the group has a job. One student could be the reporter, one student could be the material collector, one student could be the captain or leader, one student could be the recorder or writer, one student could be the timekeeper, and so on. And the teacher monitors and they finish the project, and that's fine. What do you think? Is it a little bit better than the first one? Yes, it is a cooperative one. Yes. Okay, it's a kind of group work, project-based learning. Yes, that's true. It is more effective sometimes. Yes. Okay, now let's move to strategy C. It's a little bit close to B, but with few differences. I'm not going to read aloud the instructions down. I want you to read them, and I want you to write in the chat box. How is C different from B? What are the key differences? What do you think? No, not about the picture. I'm asking about the structure, the procedures. Communication, there is communication here and there. Here is communication and here is communication. Here they help each other and distribute roles. Here too, they help each other and distribute roles. Student-centered, and this is student-centered. Interaction, here is interaction and here is interaction. One-to-one, we can have it in both. Teacher's role is, I can't read all the comments. Students, yes, excellent. Who's this? Miss Anira Saif. In B, students distribute the roles, but in C, it's the teacher who assigns the roles. Have you noticed that? Look at C here. Look at this one. Teacher assigns specific roles. Look at B here. Students distribute roles. Okay, this is a key difference between both. There could be think time here and there. No, if you talk about which one is freer than the other, B is freer, not C. Because in B, the teacher doesn't intervene. He lets them distribute the work and work on their own. Yes, Mr. Assam Kamal, in C, the teacher is more dominant. Yes, excellent. Okay, what else? In B, the students are free. Yes, Ms. Hayat, excellent. C is more controlled than B. All right. B is more autonomous. That's correct. Yes, because in B, students themselves, they choose whatever they like, whatever they prefer. Look, this is very important, and maybe this is the most important concept that we have to discuss and talk about today. There are more 19. Okay. In B, students are more autonomous. Students have more freedom. In C, it is more controlled by the teacher. Which one do you think is more effective in the classroom? That you as a teacher assign the roles, or that you let the students choose their own roles? It depends. C is more effective. B, all right, to let the students, fine, so that's B. C, both are effective. Yes, both are effective, but if we want to like delve more into details, students make troubles together, They can make troubles, by the way, in B and C, and we're going to talk about this later on. Okay, each one has pros and cons. Excellent, excellent. Yes, definitely. Depends on the age of the group. This is also something very important to consider. All right, I'll come to this point now, but let's first get back to A. In A, as you all said, this is the traditional classroom. Okay, it has, by the way, it has benefits, and although it was attacked for decades, but nowadays there is a lot of research in favor of the traditional approach. So I don't want you to take extreme positions when you talk about the activities and how to manage them in class. I don't want you, to be impulsive to judge or to refuse one strategy altogether, because I fell in that trap before. But the more I read, the more I learned that, each of these three strategies can be successful depending on how you use it, when you use it, depending on the nature of the topic, the nature of the students. There are many criteria that you should consider before you decide your own strategy. Yes, it is traditional A. What do you think are the drawbacks, the weaknesses of strategy A? Let me facilitate that to you. Let me ask you the question in a different way. In strategy A, how many students are involved in the task? How many students are actively involved? If you have 20 students and you followed this strategy, which is teacher-centered, yes. The outspoken, the one who spoke, definitely. Just one. Yes, maybe you can ask, for example, in 2 minutes or in 3 minutes, you can ask 2 or 3 questions. So it would be only 2 or 3 students who are actively involved. Maybe half of the class are raising their hands, but still they are not actively involved. The ones who are actively involved are only the ones who speak. Excellent. Okay. Is learning equal in this activity? Is learning equal? Is participation equal between students? No. All right. Let me ask you another question. And I'm going to use this term, and please remember this because this is very important. Can students hide within such an activity? Can students hide? Yes, hide. Yes, they can, because you as a teacher, maybe you're gonna choose only the ones who are raising their hands. Okay, no, hiding here doesn't mean that they are eating or doing something wrong, but hiding means that they avoid participation, they don't raise their hands, so they are completely out of the task. Maybe they are not listening to you because you're asking questions, you depend on those who are raising their hands, and that's all. So we use this term, students hide. Okay, now let's move on to strategy B. How many students are participating in an activity like that? How many students? All. Yes, because if you have 20 students, you have 5 groups. Every group has 4 students. They have roles within their groups. So definitely everyone is participating. Okay, and think of that question now. Is learning equal in this activity according to this strategy? Is learning equal? No, no, it isn't equal. Why? Why? The smart one will do the task. Yes, okay. Okay, the first methodology course in my life, I had it in 2007. And in 2007, The term cooperative learning, I mean, it wasn't known back at this time. I'm very old. And when I took this course, when I studied this course, I'm grateful, of course, to the people who gave me this course. But at this time, they were just working on the tools that they had. They used to tell us, use group work and put students in groups. And they used to tell us, okay, make just like here, assign roles. One student is the writer, one student is the speaker, one student is the material collector, one student is the timekeeper, one student is the leader who tells everybody what to do, and so on. But let me ask you a question. If we have an activity like this that will, for example, take us like 20 minutes, they have a project to finish in 20 minutes. If I am the timekeeper in my group, what kind of learning did I get? I'm talking about academics now. Nothing. Okay. If I am the writer, they tell me write this and I write. They tell me write that and I write. Did I learn anything? Maybe I'm gonna learn, but how much learning am I getting? Nothing. I'm passive. Okay. If I am the leader of the group, I'm talking about the leader now, who just tells everybody what to do. Again, I don't have to think because I have somebody who thinks. I have somebody who speaks, somebody who writes. I'm making sure everybody is committed to his role. Okay, so again, learning is not equal according to strategy B. It doesn't mean that it's bad, that it's wrong. We can use it in certain activities, okay? But you have to be aware that if you let students themselves distribute the roles, then learning wouldn't be equal because the roles doesn't guarantee equal learning. One very important question that I asked in strategy A: can students hide in strategy B? Some of you said no, but I would argue that yes. Yes, if you are the timekeeper, you are hiding. If you are the material collector, you are hiding. If you are not participating in the academics, in the learning process itself, you are definitely hiding. Okay, so be very careful of that. Okay, in strategy C, and I'm going to show you, some detailed structures here. Everyone has a role, but the roles, and this is what I'm going to explain to you, is completely different from the roles here. The roles are not writer and speaker and timekeeper. No, everybody is a writer. If you write, I write. If you speak, I speak. If you keep time, I keep time. Okay, here it's more specific, more controlled by the teacher, yes, but it is more controlled for the benefit of the students. Okay, is that clear to everybody? Okay. Okay, so in research, there is no time to do this, so it was C. In research, research showed that it's strategy C that has more learning gains. Okay, difference between traditional and cooperative learning in general in the classroom, in how you see it within the classroom. In traditional learning, a good class is a quiet class. But in cooperative learning, learning involves healthy noise. Okay, when I say keep your eyes on your own paper, but in cooperative learning class, we say help your partner solve it. In a traditional classroom, I'm going to say sit quietly and listen. But in a traditional, in a cooperative learning environment, I'm going to say get up, look at what others did. Okay, and I'm going to show you this now. I have to skip the difference between cooperative and collaborative learning just because of the time. But very quickly, I'm going to tell you the main difference between them. In collaborative learning is more like strategy B. Strategy B. Look, it's a method of teaching and learning in which students work together as a team to explore an important question or create a project. There are no criteria. We don't set conditions to how they work and how they distribute the roles. That's collaborative learning. Activities of collaborative learning may include debates, joint problem solving, collaborative writing, like a whole group write one paragraph, for example, study teams and group projects. Cooperative learning. In contrast, students work together in small groups on a structured task, which means that you tell everyone exactly what to do. Just as I did in the first activity. I didn't say, go with your partner, you have 2 minutes to talk about it. So one partner, for example, may speak for 100 seconds and the other one will take only 20 seconds. What did I do? Do you remember what I did in the first activity? When I told you to talk about a place that you visited and you would like to revisit, what did I ask you to do? I specified time for each partner. Yes, so I made a structure. 1 minute for each, exactly. Did I tell you, okay, you decide between each other who starts and who finishes? Or did I tell you who is going to start? I gave instructions. I told you that you're going to do it how? Do you remember? Who's A? Yes, in alphabetical order. Thank you. So there is much intervention from the teacher. He assigns time for each partner. He tells the students who is going to start, and he assigns the groups himself or herself. The teacher assigns the groups, and there is a big argument about are we going to put mixed abilities together, or are we going to put high achievers in one group and low achievers in one group? There is no time to talk about this now, but at least the teacher is intervening in every step during the work. But once you start, the teacher is just a facilitator, a monitor, observer, a guide to the students. These are his or her roles as a teacher. Look at this photo. How is it different from that one? In that one, everybody is working, but you know, the lady on the left is doing something different from the guy on the right, and the two in the middle are doing something different, and so on. Okay, they have different roles. But look here, can they make this structure if one of these guys isn't there? Let's imagine that one of them left his place. One of them let go of this material. Can they make the building together? No. So you have to make sure in cooperative learning that everyone is accountable, everyone is responsible. All right? So in cooperative learning, there is a structured task. Unlike collaborative learning, students are individually accountable for their work, and the group as a whole is also evaluated, ensuring that no student can piggyback on the work of another. You know, can you hiding and depending that somebody else will do your job. Okay. Okay, I'm going to skip this. Okay, these are like criteria. You know, I showed you at the beginning, let me go back very quickly, that all these guys, all these researchers and theorists, they came up with different cooperative learning techniques, okay? Based on the principles that they used, these are the conditions that they all put for cooperative learning. That there is positive interdependence. Each individual depends on and is accountable to other people. Is accountable means like he has a responsibility towards others, okay? There is individual accountability. There is promotive interaction, like they help one another, they share information. Sometimes they clarify. There are social skills. There is group processing. These are conditions. Now let's move to Kagan. Kagan should be the main theorist that we talk about today. Okay, there is no time to watch this video, but I'm going to send you the link once we finish. Based on the video, Kagan in 2009, in his book, he said that there are 4 conditions that we have to satisfy to say that this is a cooperative learning activity. Positive interdependence, individual accountability, equal participation, and simultaneous or simultaneous interaction or engagement, that we work at the same time. And he called these as pies. Okay. One of his structures is the one that I used with you, which is timed pair share. Time pair share means what? Means that the students are working in pairs and they have the same amount of time for sharing the information. You speak for 1 minute, I speak for 1 minute, so I'm not going to explain this in detail. There is another very famous structure called numbered heads together. In numbered heads together, what you do as a teacher is that each student in the team has a number. So you say, for example, this is student A, B, C, and D, or 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then students work individually to solve a problem. This is very important. They have to work individually first. They have to work individually first. Okay, so they solve the problem on their own. They answer the question on their own. It could be on a white paper, on a paper or on a whiteboard like this one. It doesn't matter. Then, after they finish working individually, how much time do we have left? 1 minute and a half. I can wrap up.
Okay.
I can wrap up. Okay. So again, they work individually first, and then you ask them to join the groups and to share the answers together and to discuss the answers. Okay. Then teacher selects a student to feedback the rest of the class. So you tell them, okay, now everyone answered individually these questions or that question. Now it's your turn to be together, to talk together about, to give feedback to each other and to reach a consensus. This is very important because I'm going to ask, as a teacher, I'm going to ask one of you. So a very important concept here, as I told you, is that you give them time to work individually first, because only here you guarantee that there is equal participation and so there is equal learning. Then you give them time to discuss their answers together, and you tell them that I am, as a teacher, I'm going to choose one of you to answer the question. So in this case, even if you have a weak learner within your group, the whole group will be keen on making this weak learner aware and understanding of the question, because he's going to represent them. And I do this all the time in my classes. I tell them, okay, join your groups. You have 1 minute to discuss that question. I'm going to choose somebody to answer. And I usually choose the weak one. The weak one had a chance to work individually and then to join the group to correct maybe the wrong concepts that he had on his own. The high achievers will be helping that weak learner, will be coaching this weak learner, so that when he comes to represent the group, he will represent them the right way. So the teacher selects a student to feedback the rest of the class, and the student stands up and shares with the whole class. This is called numbered heads together. Okay, now I want you to think, for which activities can you best apply this structure? Let me ask you the question in a different way. When can you, as a teacher, as an English, science, or math teacher, apply this in your class? With which type of questions? Can you do this, for example, with open-ended questions, WH questions, MCQs, true and false? What do you think? Just give me your ideas. This is very important. In reading, in which type of question? WH questions? Definitely, definitely, yes. Yes. Open-ended questions? Yes, exactly. Can we do it in, yes, in gap filling or MCQs? Can we do it? We can. I mean, there are no restrictions. It depends, because you're not going to give only one MCQ question. If, for example, you have a worksheet, and this worksheet has, let's say, 10 or 15 questions, 10 or 15 questions, whether these questions are true or false or MCQs or whatever, you can do it. And this is, I'm going to tell you what I do in my classes. I tell them, for example, look, I have 5 groups, and I have student A, B, C, and D in every group. So what I do is that when I give them, let's say, 5 minutes to discuss their answers for the whole activity, I tell them, okay, now, group 1, student C, group 2, student A, group 5, student B, and so on. With every question, I call a random student. It could be random and random for the students, but it could be made, you know, with purpose for me as a teacher. But now students have no expectations who is going to be asked. So they will be, you know, very alert, because they expect that they might be asked at any time of the lesson. And I've been trying this for years. It is very effective, and it is very engaging, and, you know, it keeps the students on their tiptoes, as we say. Okay, now let's move on to another fun activity called fan and pick. In fan and pick, what you do basically is that you give every student a piece of paper. This piece of paper, let's say, for example, it has a question. Not only one piece of paper. This is for quiz straight. In fan and pick, you give a set of cards. Every card has a question in one face of the paper and the answer at the back. Again, there are many cards. Let's say 10 cards, for example, just like the cards that we play. Every card has the question on one side and has the answer on the other side, or it could have the question up and the answer down. Every card has only one question and its answer. Then, for example, you say, student A, come take the cards. So student A in every group will come and pick the cards. You tell them, for example, fan the cards. You know what's to fan the cards? Like while you are playing cards, you fan them. Like you show them the 10 cards, and student B selects a card randomly. Again, one student fans the card, another student, you know, selects a random card. Then when he or she selects the card, he reads the question, he asks the question to the other students. It could be done in pairs, it could be done in groups of 4 or 5, it doesn't matter. So if I'm the one who chose the card, I'm the only one in the group who has the question and the answer. So I'm going to ask another person in the group. Let's say we are 4 now. Student A fans the cards, student B picks the card and asks the question to student C. C has to answer. Let's say, for example, I'm going to ask this question. What's the plural of mouse? Okay, and I have the answer down, mice. Student C should answer. Student C might say mice and might say mouses. My job as student B, the one who has the answer, is to ask student D to say whether the answer is correct or wrong. So C answered, and I'm going to ask D. Student D, Ahmed, Muhammad, Hiba, Muna, whatever. What do you think? Do you think his answer is correct? Do you think his answer is wrong? You got my point? In such a structure, everybody is involved. And what's going to happen next is what? After we finish this and after we give feedback to each other, the one who was fanning the cards, let me see if you are following or not. Who was fanning the cards, not who was answering the questions? A or B or C or D? A, yes. Who picked the card and asked the question? B, very good. What's going to happen next is with the next question, student A will pass the cards to student B. B will fan the cards. C will pick and ask the question to D and ask A to give the feedback, and so on and so forth. So if you have 10 questions, you will guarantee that at least everybody did everything at least twice. Okay, so this fan and pick activity, I want you to tell me your thoughts now. What kind of questions is it best used for? MCQs, excellent, yes. Open-ended, it could be used with open-ended. It could be used with true and false, right? It could be a gap filling. Why not? But just make sure that every card has only one question. That's the key point, that every card has only one question. All right? Once, of course, they ask the question, they leave this card on the table, and then until they finish all the cards. I used this activity with elementary students, and I used it in my TESOL class last summer in Alexandria with English teachers, with adults. So you can use it with all ages. You can use it with different subjects. You can use it in science, in math. You can use it in math. If you have multiplication, if you have additions, all right? You have questions, every card has one question, and students switch roles and so on. The last one that we have today, of course, we have more than 100 structures, but just for today's presentation, that's the last one today, inshallah. Yes, of course, you can modify the activity. Quiz trade, one of my favorites as well. In quiz trade, I use it in all my vocabulary and spelling classes. I use this. I'm going to show you how. Usually in my spelling in particular, because in the lists that I teach in the spelling class, I have to teach 20 words in every lesson. So what I do is that we provide the definitions quickly on Quizlet, then I print them from Quizlet, I cut them into pieces. It comes automatically the word and its definition. I do this in my class. Again, it's similar to fan and pick, but it's different in how you manage the activity. If you have, for example, 20 words and their definitions, make sure that you have cards, small ones, and again, there is the word on one side of the card and the definition at the back, or the definition and the word at the back, it doesn't matter. Give every student only one word and its definition. All right? Then what's gonna happen is that I do it in my school. I take the whole, sometimes I do it within class, sometimes to break the boredom of the classroom, I take them to the hall outside, sometimes I take them to the garden or to the playing area if it's empty, okay? So you can let them pair the way they like, and I can, sometimes this is what I do, I make them stand in two lines facing each other, and then I switch them. What you do here is, students will be working in pairs. In pairs. I have the word and the definition. I show my partner the definition only. I tell him, for example, a word that means, let's say, for example, very strict in applying the rules. And maybe there is an example, but no, just the definition. Very strict in applying rules. Let's say, for example, and the meaning, the word is firm. I have the word at the back. I quiz my friend. I quiz my partner. Okay? He might give me the correct answer. He might give me the wrong answer. If he gives me the correct answer, I say, yes, excellent, thank you. If he gives the wrong answer, no, try again. Let him try twice or 3 times, then you can provide the correct answer. This is how you do it. A, finished. Then comes B. B has a word and has a definition. He will ask student A the same question, but he has a different word. Okay, so what happened is student A quizzes student B, and student B quizzes student A. And quiz, trade. This is very important. What is trade? We switch the cards. Can you tell me why we switch the cards? Then I'm going to pair up with somebody else. But can you tell me why we switch the cards? Share knowledge. Learn more words. Excellent. Yes, yes. Look, if I keep the same card with me all the time, I will be bored myself and I'm not learning a lot. Okay? But if every time I'm asking somebody, he takes my card and I take his card, then within 5 to 10 minutes, maybe all the cards will be switched, you know, among the whole class. At least I will have 10 cards and I'm learning more. More knowledge is being, you know, learned throughout the class. That's the point. Okay, so this is quiz trade. This activity is problematic in one area, that it needs strong classroom management. I tried it many times. Sometimes I put them in lines because I know that when I tell them, okay, you mix, they mix with the same partners again, and they make noise and they don't take it seriously. So you can adapt it the way you like. And there is a variation in Kagan itself called inside circle, outside circle, where you put the students in 2 circles, one inside and a bigger one outside. And in every circle there is, you know, it has the same number of people, the same number of students. Then you ask the circle inside just to move 2 steps, to skip 2 students. Look, all these seem complicated at the beginning. You have, when you use them in your class, you have to introduce them one by one. What I did with you today online, of course, on site, it's much more, it's much easier than doing it online. But what I did with you today is that, yes, like onion rings, but in Kagan, it's called inside circle, outside circle. Again, what I did with you today, I introduced only one structure, which is time per share, a very easy one. There are, as I told you, more than 100 structures you can, throughout my career, I used like not more than 12 or 13 structures. I don't have to use all of these, okay? And you don't have to use them all the time. And as I told you, you have to think which type of activity can this fit. This again can work well with yes or no questions, with true and false. If you have words and definitions, as I told you, I always use it in words and definitions and so on. So you as a teacher, you have to think of it. There is also something called Rally Coach. In Rally Coach, students work in pairs. One student answers the odd questions, one student answers the even questions, then they share the answers. There is another, and I used it a lot before, called talking chips. Talking chips, I use it in speaking classes. It's a very effective one. In talking chips, you give a student just a card, an empty card. But this card is like the veto. You know, the veto, when you use the right to vote or to object to something. I use it in my classes. You give your students, everyone has only one card, okay? And you have a speaking activity, and you tell them, okay, you give think time. They think for 2 minutes, they write down notes. You tell, for example, your students, everyone in the group will speak for 2 minutes. So this activity will take you 10 minutes. 2 minutes to think individually and take notes, and 2 minutes for every one of you. In talking chips, what happens is we are in a circle and we have a speaking question. So what we do basically is, if I, in the group, want to speak first, I place my card in the middle of the table. When I place it in the middle of the table, this means nobody else in the group has the right to speak or even to interrupt me unless the 2 minutes are over. When the 2 minutes are over, I have no right to speak anymore. And the one who places the card is the only one who is legitimate to speak and to take over the task and so on. By doing so, you give equal opportunities to your students. Nobody can hide, because if you wait to the last, if your turn is the last one, everybody has placed his card and you are the last one now. You will be forced to speak, whether you like it or not. Okay, so this is what cooperative learning is all about. Cooperative learning is about equal chances, is about structured activities, is about mutual responsibility. Remember the 4 pies. I didn't go deeply into them because of the time, but always when you measure these 4 pies to any of the structures that I told you about, you will find that they apply to all these structures. I'm done. Time for your questions if you have any.
Okay, Dr. Ahmed, thank you very much. I'm going to give you the host now. If you would like to let the participants raise their hands, and you can unmute the one that is going to ask you.
Okay, 4 pies, Miss Warda. 4 pies. Look,
okay, now you are the host.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I like being the host. Okay,
it's all yours.
If anybody wants to speak, just raise your hand. I'm gonna mute everybody just at the beginning because, okay, if anybody wants to speak, just raise your hand. I'm gonna unmute you. Ms. Dureya, the 4 pies, these are the 4 pies. Like, they have to apply to every structure you use. Positive interdependence, that means we are not competing. We are not competing, okay? In collaborative learning, you can compete. You can make competitions between groups. But in cooperative learning, you can't do it. Because if you try to do it, students will take each other, you know, roles. Yes, Mr. Sharif, hello?
Hello, Mr. Ahmed, how are you?
I'm good.
Thank you very much at first. And my question is, according to Kagan's strategy, as you know, we have to divide every group into numbers. So, for example, in the group, we have to give students, every student one number, for example, 1, 2, 3, and so on, right? My question is, how do you divide?
Sorry, how do what?
My question is, how upon criteria do you divide the level of students?
According, you know, there is a large debate on this question. But according to Kagan, students should be divided in mixed abilities groups. So in every group, there should be a very high achiever, medium high, medium low, and a low achiever. this is that's the book itself. I told you, like, it's 484, and there is a version where the book itself is more than 500 pages. Okay, of course, you cannot read all this. I didn't read it myself. I didn't read the whole book, but I went through many parts of it. You can, you know, skip parts unless you until you reach the structures, and you can see them one by one. I hope I answered your question, Mr. Sharif. If somebody else, let me see the chat.
And so please, and how do you make sure that the students or the low achiever students, you know, have already get the knowledge or the assessment? How can you make the summative assessment?
Summative assessment is done at the end of the year. I mean, what you're gonna do is a kind of formative assessment here, not a summative assessment, because it's, you know, you make it within one class. It couldn't be a summative assessment. So all students subject to a summative assessment at the end of the year. But during the class itself, you can assess the student because you are monitoring. You put them in groups, you assign roles. There is individual accountability, as I told you, even in numbered heads together where they share information. You make sure that there is time when everybody is working on his own. You can go and check before they join their groups that everybody tried to answer the questions. I do it in my literature classes, and I'm going to have a session on how to teach literature, but maybe after 2 weeks from now, inshallah. In my literature classes, what I do is that I divide the questions into 4 levels, and I give the easy questions to the low achievers, and I give the demanding and hard questions to the high achievers. So even when they work individually, you know that everybody has something adapted to his level. This is individualized learning, but of course, nobody can do this all the time. Sometimes you have to give the same task to everybody. You can never skip that. Okay, I'm not a perfectionist, and if anyone claims that he does this 100% of the time, you can bluntly say you are a liar. Nobody can do it. Okay, we are traditional. Sorry, in some times of our lessons, we use collaborative or group work without structures in some parts of our lessons, and we use cooperative learning. I'm not asking every one of you to use cooperative learning 24/7. You cannot do it, but at least don't skip a single class without at least having one activity structured that way. That's the whole point.
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Ahmed, but you know, I don't think that the summative assessment is just for the end of the year, because you know, every class we have certain skills and sub-skills that we have to deliver to the students. So in only one class, maybe I have a summative assessment after I have just finished, you know, delivering.
I'm sorry to correct you, but I mean, this is the core of my work and research.
Yeah, that's okay.
Summative assessment, which is evaluation. Okay.
Yeah.
This is only at the end of the course, not throughout the course. If I am, for example, in an international school, we administer 8 tests throughout the year. Every test is called a summative assessment to the quarter itself. Formative is what you do throughout the whole week, throughout the whole month, throughout the whole quarter. The summative, in which you evaluate the learning process as a whole, what the student learned throughout the whole course. This is the evaluation or the summative assessment.
Yes, thank you very much for your clarification.
Thank you so much. Anybody else has any question? Okay, thank you so much for your time, and I'm sorry that I took like 20 more minutes, but it's a big topic. I couldn't, you know, wrap it up in 40 minutes, and I wish all of you the best. Thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Mr. Muhammad.
Yes, I'm with you. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for Rilo for this opportunity, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. It's an informative session, and you did well. I really thank you very much for your time and for your collaboration with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just before I move, because some people, maybe some people who have a background about Kagan were a little bit confused between the onion circle and the inside-outside circle. So yes, here are the strategies. Okay, yes, this is the inside-outside circle that I was talking about. Okay. Here where students rotate in circles to face new partners for sharing, quizzing, and problem solving. As I told you, there is a small circle inside and a big circle outside. This book is available. If anybody wants the book, you can contact me. I can send it to Mr. Muhammad. He can share it on the page of Relu if you don't mind.
Thank you very much. Okay,
it's our pleasure, Dr. Ahmed. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you. I'm grateful to you. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi. Thanks to Dr. Ahmed, and thanks to our attendees. See you later, inshallah.
Thank you.